A trio of Serie A titles, multiple Champions League triumphs, the Club World Cup, Italy's greatest scorer in UEFA club competitions, and of course, a World Cup to boot. Filippo Inzaghi has a list of accomplishments that would make anyone envious of what he managed to achieve in his playing career. And for his brother Simone, no doubt it was difficult to escape the comparisons and the constant mentions of what his older brother had achieved throughout his own playing career. If it wasn't for the lofty heights his brother had hit, and our knack for constantly comparing everything against each other, Simone's playing career would be looked at through a completely different lens. 13 years spent as a professional, climbing from Serie C with his hometown club of Piacenza to signing with Serie A's Lazio, where he would go on to become quite the hero. He helps them to win just their second Serie A title in 2000, the last time they have won it by the way, as well as no less than 3 Coppa Italias, winning the double in 1999-2000. See what I mean? It's only when the comparisons to his brother come in where Simone Inzaghi's playing career is seen as less than. By any other metric, it was a great success, but where he has managed to flip the paradigm is when it comes to coaching. Simone has gone on to become a fantastic coach, continuing his legacy with Lazio, cutting his teeth with the domestic cups and earning a move to Inter Milan, where he has continued a reign of excellence in the cup competitions, both domestic and nearly continental. In fact, think back to that 2023 Champions League final between Manchester City and Inter Milan. Most finals are balanced and cagey, but considering the narrative that was going into this final was that yes, Inter could cause some issues, but ultimately City will win the final comfortably, it certainly was far from that. Tactically, Inter stood up to Guardiola's City, and when that happens, the tiebreaker often comes down to the individuals on the pitch being the difference makers, and often a little luck as well. But if Inter had found an equalizer, if Inter had gone on to win that match, it wouldn't have been that big of a surprise based on the context of that match. Since the spring of 2023, Inzaghi has managed to turn his Inter side into an all-conquering machine. And this isn't the eye-rolling, yawn-inducing 3-5-2 of the past. Inter are fun to watch, even exhilarating at times, as Limone ball, or Dimone ball, is only gaining in power. As mentioned earlier, Simone Inzaghi started out with his hometown club Piacenza, just as his older brother did, where Filippo Inzaghi helped Piacenza gain Serie A promotion during the 1994-95 season. Simone would help Piacenza during the 98-99 season with 15 goals in just 30 matches, nearly equaling his brother's record of 17 goals, though Filippo scored those across 41 appearances. He had 11 more, so hey, take from that what you will. Simone's rich vein of scoring earned him a move to Lazio in 1999, a step up for sure, but Sven-Göran Eriksson provided Simone with opportunities, and he scored a very respectable 19 goals in 40 matches during their Serie A and Coppa Italia conquering season. In total, despite a couple fruitless loans to Sampdoria and Atalanta, because of a lot of injuries, Simone played in 10 seasons with Lazio, winning Serie A once and the Coppa Italia thrice, representing Italy just on 3 occasions. But on one such occasion, he came off of the bench to play alongside his brother in a friendly loss against Spain. Again, when compared to his brother's career, Simone doesn't hold a candle to it. Not many people do. But for any human to make it as a pro, to play at the top level, lift trophies, and represent your country even once, that's still a massive achievement. When he retired in 2010, Simone stayed with Lazio and began coaching the youth teams. 6 years later, in April of 2016, Lazio was trounced 4-1 by their rivals AS Roma, which was the final straw for Stefano Pioli. Upon his sacking, Lazio's Primavera coach Simone Inzaghi was given the keys to the car, so to speak. With 4 wins and 3 losses, Simone showed enough to earn the job on a permanent basis. In his first season, the 2016-17 season, he improved Lazio from 8th to 5th in Serie A, Europa League football was back baby, and made the final of the Coppa Italia, losing to Juve. He would get instant revenge against them in the Supercoppa later, and go on to win the Coppa Italia in 2019, and another Supercoppa in that same year, again beating Juve. Simone would go on to endear himself to the Lazio faithful, no surprise there, as a former player as well, and to rival supporters would be playfully referred to as Limone Inzaghi, due to his penchant for reacting sourly towards the referees following losses. Or just any matches, really. In his final season with Lazio, the 2020-21 season, they finished in 6th, made the quarters of the Coppa Italia, not his best work, and most interestingly made the round of 16 of the Champions League for the first time since the change back to having a round of 16 rather than a second group stage as the Champions League sort of toyed with in the past. Already he had flipped the paradigm, like we said earlier, when it comes to Simone versus Filippo, as Simone's achievements as a manager had eclipsed his brothers by far. And the fact that he had made the round of 16 had also eclipsed the man he would succeed at Inter. Where Antonio Conte well and truly put Inter's banter years behind them with their 2021 Scudetto win, he failed to make it out of the Champions League group stage on both attempts. One of those failures did lead to a Europa League final, where they became yet another victim of Sevilla in the Europa League finals. I mean, join the club, folks. And so with Conte being aware of the players that he would have to separate from after winning the league for the first time in just over a decade for Inter, he decided to leave. He wanted to continue building a team that would be serial winners and saw the losses of big names like Romelu Lukaku and Achraf Hakimi as unpalatable. And so Inter turned to another Italian manager that liked to play with a 3-5-2 system, Simone Inzaghi. The vibes were quite low for the Interisti at that time. The football they were finally playing under Conte, with Lukaku bullying players, Hakimi flying down the wing, all of that was gone in their eyes, and when coupled with the major question marks surrounding their financial position, it felt like all was lost for them, with the dawn of another banter era upon them. But with Inzaghi, well, the football wasn't always as blistering as they would have liked. The proof was in the results. With a Coppa Italia and a Supercoppa in his first season in charge, at the very least, Inzaghi proved that Inter would always be in with a shout of silverware and would need to be taken seriously again in the Champions League. In Inzaghi's first attempt, he bettered Conte, making it out of virtually the exact same group as before with Shakhtar and Real. They fell in the round of 16, but they fell to Liverpool, the finalists, of whom they defeated with a rare 1-0 win away at Anfield in the second leg. Inzaghi's second season in charge, Napoli achieved something truly remarkable under Luciano Spalletti, taking the Scudetto with relative ease, but Inzaghi's vice grip on cup competitions continued, winning the Supercoppa and the Coppa Italia for the second season running, and improving in the Champions League as well, making it all the way to the final and narrowly losing to Guardiola's treble-winning Manchester City. It wasn't all flowers and rainbows that season. It wasn't a consistent upwards trajectory throughout again. For the second consecutive season, Inter finished in third place under Inzaghi. There was also that time in the winter where they felt like they were getting worse and worse, but by the time late March and early April came around, Inzaghi had righted the ship, so much so that they were a couple of calm finishes from Lukaku or a self-inflicted block away from potentially beating City. They contained them incredibly well, limited them to an expected goals of just 0.99 to Inter's 1.68, and a moment of class from Rodri was ultimately the difference maker. Following the Champions League final loss, the belief in themselves continued into this current season, where Inter are nearly all conquering at the moment. Well, besides that loss to Bologna in the Coppa Italia, a rare blemish, but after winning 2 consecutively, I mean, perhaps we can give Inzaghi a bit of a break here, right? Given the improvements, especially to their record in Serie A. If Inzaghi could have pictured his perfect Inter in his brain as he was taking the job back in 2021, perhaps this iteration of Inter would be something close to that. Close to, because nobody is perfect, right? Inter have lost just once this season in Serie A, and once in the Coppa Italia. From 25 Serie A matches, they have been scored on in only 9 of them, for a total of just 12 goals conceded. That defensive solidity isn't at the expense of their attack either, as they have also scored 63 goals in 25 matches. That's 2.25 goals per game, 13 more than the second highest scorers, AC Milan. And all of this despite losing some of his top talents season upon season. You can look to the team that Inzaghi inherited from Conte in 2021. Many of the pieces are still there, but Lukaku and Hakimi were sold off to cover Inter's shaky financials and fund some incoming players like Correa, Çalhanoğlu, Darmian, and Dzeko for a fraction of their transfer profits. As he would build the squad up, with every season, there was a new challenge. Take the summer of 2023 as an example. Andrea Onana had only arrived at Inter 1 year prior, and his ability to distribute the ball with his feet was invaluable to Inzaghi's tactics. Inter could comfortably play out from the back, or Onana could bypass the press easily with an accurate ball to one of the forwards or wide men. He was gone after just 1 season. Then there was the big Milan Skriniar saga, which finally came to an end with the Slovakian leaving for PSG for free in the summer of 2023. His final season was filled with contradictions, let's say, but prior to that, he was one of Inter's most reliable center-backs and often captained the side when Danilo D'Ambrosio wasn't on the pitch as recently as last season. And the one that perhaps hurt Interisti the most was Marcelo Brozovic, one of the most underrated players in his position for years, leaving for Al Nassr in the summer of 2023, a massive hole in Inter's midfield, as his importance to their success couldn't be understated. With that said, however, while losing Brozovic is undoubtedly a negative, perhaps Inzaghi wasn't as distraught as he would have been even a year prior. In Brozovic's final season, he had a couple of stints on the sidelines with injuries, which led to Inzaghi starting to drop Turkish midfielder Hakan Çalhanoğlu deeper and deeper in their midfield. Where he had previously been seen as a number 10, or more commonly as a number 8, Çalhanoğlu started to show signs of becoming a very, very good deep-lying playmaker from the 6th position. At this point, Hakan Çalhanoğlu has become a stunning regista under Simone Inzaghi, with his transformation into the role complete, as he is currently performing as one of the best players in the world at that position. Where Skriniar's future was up in the air and Stefan de Vrij powers feeling like they were fading, Benjamin Pavard was brought in. Before that, up stepped 35-year-old Francesco Acerbi and the unlikely hero Matteo Darmian, the best of both of these defenders coaxed out by Inzaghi. With United providing some ludicrous offers for Onana, he was sold off, and in came Swiss goalkeeper Jan Sommer. Immediately, the questions of how this would affect Inter's build-up play began cropping up, rightfully so. But with Sommer in goal, any combination of Bastoni, Acerbi, De Vrij, Pavard, Bissek, or Darmian can play in front of him, and Inter just won't concede goals. From 32 appearances, the Swiss keeper has 21 clean sheets, meaning the opposition has failed to score on Sommer in 65.6% of Inter's matches. And in the attack, there was the Lukaku debacle. Inter seemingly would have wanted to make his move permanent from Chelsea, and they let Dzeko go as well, only for all of that to crumble. In stepped Marcus Thuram, and his performances have made the Interisti forget about Lukaku at this point. Well, at least the Lukaku they had last season. The one prior was quite good. And just enjoy Thuram's performances. In Lautaro, they have a steady supply of goals. He just scored his 100th and 101st for Inter against Lecce, and when speaking of this season alone, have seen probably his most consistent run of form as well. While he's en route to smashing his season goal tally, some part of his success can be attributed to the incredible partnership with Thuram, of which the French striker has already hit double digits in both goals and the assists column, as the Tula partnership takes the reins from the Lula of the past. Inter are a team that can hurt you with their attack and starve your strikers with their Europe-leading defense, and recently have dropped their habit of dropping points against weaker opposition in the league. All of this with Inzaghi's fresh approach to the 3-5-2. Following that loss to Manchester City in the final, Inzaghi said, quote, "I saw that the players were taking it hard, but that's football. It's our 5th final in 20 months. We have to be proud." 5 finals in 20 months is nothing to sneeze at. And with the latest Supercopa win, Inzaghi has won it every time with Inter since he joined them. A first leg win over Atletico in the round of 16, a 9-point lead at the top of Serie A. What is this football that has brought Inter their most recent success with players Inzaghi wouldn't trade for anybody? Let's quickly go through it. Inzaghi's 3-5-2 approach is interesting in that it has a couple of things that make it distinct from other iterations, the most prominent of which being the overlapping center backs. So often you will see Bastoni in particular joining Inter's attack, utilizing his ability on the ball and his stunning distribution to play a line-breaking through ball to the attackers. Since joining Inter, by the way, Pavard has provided similar value in this position as well, but just on the other side. The center backs are more involved in the play, and speaking of which, it's not as if they sit back and seek to counter, as perhaps Conte's Inter used to do with those automations that were drilled into this Inter side. In fact, Inzaghi's Inter doesn't shy away from pressing teams further up the pitch, with Mkhitaryan, Barella, and the wing backs all joining the strikers to work to win the ball as far up the pitch as possible, to strike quickly and catch their opponents in transition. Speaking of which, it isn't often you see two out-and-out strikers playing together. A true two-striker system like the one Inter plays isn't so common in modern football. The strikers link up well, and Inter often create numerical advantages in the attack once the aforementioned midfielders and wingbacks join them. And like we saw and mentioned in their win against Atletico in a previous video, the left side in particular is a bit of a headache for opposition defenses. Mkhitaryan, DiMarco, and Bastoni all link up well and are quite fluid. And once the left-sided striker Lautaro joins, they have runs inside from Mkhitaryan and Thuram, DiMarco on the touchline, and Bastoni waiting for the ball to potentially whip in early crosses as well. The same structure is quite dangerous on the right as well, with Pavard, Barella, Dumfries, or Darmian providing a similar threat. The midfield of Çalhanoğlu, Barella, and Mkhitaryan covers a lot of ground as well, as all three are incredibly willing pressers, and when defending, provide even further cover for Inter's five-man back line. And beyond them is Jan Sommer, a top shot stopper who, as we've mentioned, collects clean sheets for fun, without blinking an eye. Inzaghi's Inter will press you and force you to go long, where their backline will likely win the ball, and if they don't, their midfield will press the hell out of you. Upon winning it back, their triangles of outside center back, wing back, and mezzala will advance the ball incredibly quickly, while one of their strikers will drop to be an option as the other floats in behind you. They score goals, they concede infrequently, and they are constantly evolving under their underrated tactician. A manager who loses stars frequently, never complains, and still improves his side. Thank you for watching this video, guys, and if you enjoyed it, then a like goes a long way, a subscription even further. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this all the same, and I hope to see you in the next one. I'm Adrian, this is Rabona TV, and have a great day. Ciao!